Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and students of CNC. Not that you're not ladies and gentlemen, but anyway, you shouldn't have laughed there, Damon. Okay, do this again. Okay.
No, we keep it going. Let's go. We're just gonna keep it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first official episode of the Confluence podcast. I am Anubhav Sharma, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Confluence. And this right here is Damon. Damon?
Yo, guys, my name is Damon Robinson. I'm the membership outreach coordinator. I'm a staff person at the College of New Caledonia Students Union. My job is to do outreach, communicate with you guys, and overall try to create a positive environment around the campus. Great to
Yeah,
have
and he's really
great
good
to be
at
here. Oh, thank you.
Uh-huh.
That's so nice.
Okay. Is it? Okay.
You're much nicer on camera than you are off camera.
Oh, you're painting a great image. You're painting a great image for everyone who's watching this. Keep
No,
doing
he's
that.
really nice. No, he's really nice. I adore Anubhav. I do.
It's not helping.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, today, we're actually letting you guys know what we like and what constitutes us, like what makes us as a person. Why I say this is because you might be seeing a lot of us in the coming days. And yeah. So, right, today we have some questions. We have some really fun questions, if I might say. And we're going to do this in a very symmetric way, but also not in a symmetric way, because anything that's, and it's defined, that's not fun.
We're breaking all
So,
barriers here. We're gonna
yeah,
go forge
we're,
our own
we're
path, as some would
breaking
say.
all dams. We're
Yeah,
flooding the
we're
towns.
breaking all
doing,
dams. No
yeah,
dams will survive this.
no, yeah, I don't give a damn, right?
Yeah.
So, let me bounce one beautiful question off of you
Sure.
right before, we dive into the more serious
Let's
questions.
do it. This is
This
serious
is a fun
now.
one.
Yeah.
Who's your idol? And what would you ask your idol if you ever got the chance to meet that person? One question is all you get.
Okay, I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. My idol, I think, is going to be a guy named Chris Do. He's like the CEO of The Future, which is like a media brand for marketing and graphic design and branding in general. And he does some
Oh,
really sick Instagram carousels, and he overall tries to encourage people to be stronger negotiators for themselves and kind of believe in their craft and artwork. I think I've taken a lot of his confidence that he pushes and kind of try to adopt it into my own, in my own way. And I just like his overall vibe. Like, he never takes credit for anything. He always credits the people he takes ideas from. Overall, it's just a really, really cool dude who I aspire to be a little bit like. That's going to be my answer, mostly
yeah.
because I think
Wow.
for me, it's a little bit hard to kind of find the balance between creating new stuff and innovating and being okay with just taking what's normal and putting my
Mhm.
own spin on it.
Okay,
It
that's
was a
wow,
huge part of what I
that's
do.
very. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. How about you? What's going on with you? Who's your idol?
See, I was thinking because my idol is basically my dad, which is like, I don't want to think about it. That's the only answer that comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But since I already have asked my dad what I needed to ask him, right? Like I've read through him like an encyclopedia. What I would go with is, um, since I idolize Eminem, Marshall Mathers, a lot, simply because of his struggles in his childhood and his continual clash with people around him, his own destiny, and look where he stands today after all those years. He's some sort of an inspiration for me. I would just ask him how he managed to push through all of that crap, and yet come out on the other side as a person that he is today. He's a caring and loving father of three daughters, who basically, I mean, he adopted two of those daughters, and he loves them all equally. And he has a successful career. He donates often. He has his own business. Like, how do you push through all of that? You reach this point. That's what I would ask him.
Could you imagine having Marshall Mathers as your dad? I mean, not even like Haley,
Um,
like like his
yeah.
OG, but like as an
Uh-huh.
adopted, as one of those adopted children that you were talking about. Can you
Uh-huh.
imagine that
Yeah.
being chosen by Eminem, the Marshall
I yeah.
Mathers?
Yeah, I
Ooh.
would just be gushing about it to like, if I'm in school, I'll be like, I don't know this answer, but you know who my dad is? Marshall Mathers.
It's like, what does that have
That
to
would
do
be
with
me.
fractions?
I
I
don't
don't know. What
know.
is it?
Like, I'm probably gonna just rhyme fractions or something. Fractions. I'm in factions in my infections or something like that. See, there's a lot of
Oh.
perks that come when you're, the
Mhm.
child of someone like Marshall Mathers.
Mhm.
Yeah, not that I'm disregarding my parents, mom, dad.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, I love you both. I'm just saying,
Cheers to parents.
cheers to parents, cheers to
Mm.
idols.
Yes.
Hmm.
It's
So,
good. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
oh no, no, no,
I
please,
just
no,
rambled.
please.
No, I was just gonna
Did you
say,
ramble though?
no. No, I don't. I'm a little bit too socially awkward. I just say I do, so it looks like I'm productive in every conversation, but realistically, no.
I do. You'll do great while you're reading your marriage vows. Then
Yeah, just constantly, consistently keep on
I
going
do,
for like a
I do.
10-minute ramble in the marriage vows. Yeah, it just that's one way to
Yeah.
do it. Just improvise the
Oh
marriage
yeah.
vows. Yeah, good strategy. I'll do
Hmm.
that. Hmm.
The priest is gonna be like, at least let me read the vows. Come on, come on. You just keep going. I do, I do.
Yeah, I just got there. Yeah, I just stood up
Yeah,
and just started talking. Yeah. Anyways, what was your
yeah.
question?
My question for you
Hmm.
specifically was, what's your advice for younger leaders, like people who are younger than you, yet they aspire to be someone, of great capability
Hmm.
at a very young age? What advice do you have for those people?
What age are we talking? Are we talking like fresh to college or like young, like
I would say
13?
fresh to college is a great place
Fresh
to
to
start because
college?
that's when people actually start mapping their dreams out and right.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last, I would say 5 years that I've
Yeah.
been in around at CNC,
Mhm.
is things aren't as serious as you think they are. Things are a lot more free flowing than you can even imagine. And sometimes just taking that chance, sometimes just going out there and not really caring about the repercussions and just believing in yourself for a second can actually get you a really long way. I don't know how many times I've just randomly taken an opportunity and really, well, CNCSU was me taking that opportunity. I just decided to go and join the Confluence as the editor in chief back in the heyday because I got offered it randomly, and I'm like, sure, that sounds really cool, and look where I am now. I'm still
Yeah,
here.
look how far you've come. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and I think that's it. I think a lot of people, especially now, are just really scared. We had all our options taken away. Everybody was trapped behind a screen for
yeah.
years, and it's hard to get out there and stand as yourself. I think that's a really big hurdle that a lot of people are going through right now. And I always encourage them to take a chance when you're our age. I mean, you can recover. You can recover.
We always recover.
Yeah, you can recover. There's a lot of life left to live, and I think you'll find some amazing things if you just take that leap.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty solid advice because yeah, no, I agree with that. That was a good answer. My advice, on the other hand, would be to again, as you said, it's somewhere on the same lines, but not to take things too seriously. Because whenever we put too much value on things, we always end up not doing so basically we approach those things in a different manner. We approach them out of the ordinary, like we're not our actual selves when we're approaching
Mhm.
that thing, which we don't want, because sometimes being your original self is the best you can do. Your flaws and your mistakes are what makes you you. So just stop trying so hard. Again, as you said, stop taking life so seriously, and maybe just sit down with a cup of coffee even when your assignment's due tomorrow. Just sit down with a cup of
Oh,
coffee, listen to some music, and then
yeah.
start working on your assignment as the adrenaline starts making its way into your head.
I think that advice is really good too. I think part of being young is you're going to be going through stuff for the first time in your life. And that you think
Absolutely.
back to when you're 12 and you have a friend who stabs you in the back. Worst feeling of your life. Absolutely
Can't compare.
awful. You can never move past that. And then you realize it doesn't really matter. And not in the sense
That's
that it isn't important to you. You can be things can not matter but still be important to you. I think that's an important distinction to have. And
true.
especially when you're going into college for the first
Mhm,
time, and let's say you get hit with an F. You hand something in, or you do a test that you thought you were going to do and you get an F.
mhm.
It's very easy to start beating yourself up for it.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh
but
yeah.
that you have to think about it that way. That's going to be the worst experience that you've had so far. So far, it's not
That's true. That's
actually
true.
that bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. It's like
And
the
it
ultimate
just
low. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think people are just so scared of failure, they refuse to move forward in their lives. I think a lot of the time
True.
that's actually what happens.
Mhm.
I'm scared of failing this test. I'm scared of being rejected by this school. I'm scared of approaching these people I think I would be good friends with. Because
Yeah.
rejection and failure is a hurdle that a lot of people, and I'm worried even now, are still afraid to take. Right?
And
So
you know
it's
why?
hmm,
You
why?
know why this happens? It's because we've started expecting a lot from ourselves and the people around us at times, but like mostly from ourselves. We expect great things of ourselves. Like we don't introspect enough. We don't see if what we're doing is meant to be done this way, or it's we're just just throwing stones in the dark. So I think what you said, yeah, I stand by it. I stand by most of
I
it. Yeah.
mean, I mean, like that makes sense. I mean, if you look at like the world that we're in right now, and
Mhm.
think about the landscape of how we communicate with each other, whether it's through social media,
Yeah.
which every Tom, Dick, and Harry is posting their best photos ever. Everything is perfect, photoshopped to a T. They're surrounded by friends, family at the bar.
Yeah.
They got new pets. They got all this stuff. They just bought a house. They just got a job. If you're constantly looking at perfection, you're always going to be expecting perfection yourself, right? You're always
True.
going to be having the highest expectations possible because if you can't meet what you think is the norm, you're a failure
Mm-hmm.
then. And that's just not how life works. I constantly talk down about social media because it does make people feel bad. It does.
Does. It does. It most definitely does. You see it, people never post the worst part of their lives, and that's a fact because no one likes to, show people they're
Hmm.
doing bad. They like to show people they're doing good, which in turn doesn't help other people. Rather, it kind of pushes them towards a pit of, jealousy, envy that might
Hmm.
not be intended in the first place, but it's there. You can't help human nature, right?
Hmm.
And thing you were talking about social media, about how it's not the best thing. If you observe, social media has made us more narrow-minded in the way that it recommends us stuff that we like. In this sense, we are missing out on the things that we might be learning about. We will never see them because now everything is tailored. Now we don't have the expanse of knowledge to traverse and find what works for us. Rather, we just get sucked into this hole of one certain aspect of knowledge that we keep reading about. If we're reading about fashion, we're gonna keep seeing posts about fashion because that's what keeps us glued to our phones. But that's not the idea or the intent of social media, is it?
Wasn't in the first place. It's supposed to be a way to connect with people. And then
Exactly.
somewhere along the way, that message got lost, and now we're just kind of on our own little island.
We're just trying to figure stuff out. It's not working out pretty well, I can tell you that.
Mhm. I know. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I mean, I defend the internet in a lot of ways, and especially there's been a lot of great things that came out of it. People being able to
Yeah.
connect with each other. All of a sudden, uh, certain groups that were ignored for a long time, all of a sudden had the ability to speak out, and that's great. That is awesome. There's a lot of progress, but I think a lot. I don't think enough people actually look at how negative social media can be to your
That's fair.
mindset. You know, at least back in the day when there were forums, there was some anonymity there. You weren't comparing yourself. You were being genuine, and that's good
Hmm.
too. But you weren't constantly comparing yourself to people you think are better than you. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what happens. And
True. True.
I think it's partially intended in a lot of ways as well. I mean,
Exactly.
there's so much data that shows the negative side effects on youth with social media, and stuff like Instagram, stuff like Facebook in particular. Like they're
You
pretty
can't deny it.
you can't really deny, and this is coming from a guy who works on social media. This is part of my job. And so you
Mhm.
see the algorithm and how things, like for example, audience, yes, I'm talking to you. If you look on Facebook, you'll notice that every fourth or fifth post is an advertisement. There you go.
Targeted at you.
Yeah, targeted at you. Look at your Facebook on your phone or on your computer. You'll notice that every fourth or fifth post, I believe, is going to be sponsored. It is literally, I'm going to agree with Anna, is literally meant to make your mind much more narrow and focused. And in that case, I mean, you're not going to agree with every single person in the world, but at the very least, you can find a middle ground. And what happens is
Yeah,
if you are constantly in your own little world and you get used to that, when somebody comes to you and they don't necessarily agree or they're a little bit different, all of a sudden it feels like it's an attack.
become defensive. Exactly.
Become a little bit defensive, and I'm not in defense of anybody who does go out and just be a jerk. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have an opinion about, let's say, like a favorite movie, let's say we have like a group of
Yeah.
people who love Fast and the Furious, and then they all of a sudden have all these targeted ads at them and all that stuff, and then you go find somebody who absolutely despises that franchise. Even that is a little bit polarizing. I think we become so targeted with advertisements and social media that it's very hard to branch out. And part of growth is accepting that you're not always correct. Part of growth is accepting you're not the center of the universe and
And
getting to
I
know other people.
and I believe a lot of people do struggle with that these days. Like, thinking of something other than themselves is a
Mhm.
lot of, is something that a lot of people have a tough time understanding these days. And I think it's because of a lot of factors, but social media is definitely one major factor that, changed everything. As you said, we had usernames before. We just had usernames. A person doesn't have any profile picture or any bio associated with his name. So it's just a random person from across the web, and you're conversing on a forum with that person. You're not seeing his personal life, so you don't have your insecurities born because of that. So yeah, social media has changed, but I couldn't say it changed for the better. It just changed. It just became more diverse in a
Right.
way, but also at the same time incredibly narrow-minded.
Okay, I'm gonna switch things up on a dime right here. Oh, the
I
Damon's
was I was
classic.
just gonna I was just gonna do that. I was gonna ask you what your favorite TED Talk is because
My
I'm pretty sure
favorite
you
TED Talk?
you have to have a favorite TED Talk. Like it's like,
Oh. Yes, I do actually. It's a TED Talk.
see,
It's technically a spoken word poem.
uh-huh,
Because they do some of those at TEDx's. It's by Shane
yeah,
Koizan.
TEDx is,
His the
uh-huh,
to this day um, TED talk that he did was really moving. It's one of my
okay,
favorite pieces ever. I'm To all those who don't know, I'm myself. I classify myself as a poet, and I love writing. I love the arts. It's actually how I got involved in the Confluence about 4 years ago. Was my poetry. So this checks out for me. And that's a little bit of a cop out, but yeah, the poetry stuff that they do at TEDx is really my favorite. Otherwise, if I'm to actually go with your traditional TED talk, the only one that I can think of is going to be one where they talk about how people learn from video games. They can learn why people are afraid of being wrong, and the reason why I like that one is because they used Mario as an example. Super Mario on the NES, right?
yeah,
Imagine
classic,
1-1, World 1, Level 1. That level is designed to teach you how to play the game because they expect you to fail. Video games are great in the sense because you are expected to fail and that's how you learn, right? So they were making the argument that failure is crucial to learning. If people are afraid of failure, they're never going to be able to jump past that pipe or jump over that Goomba, right? And that was the point that they were making is that people are afraid to fail and therefore they learn. They used an example too of if you they had like a test where if you can code
okay,
something and if you fail
right,
you're automatically out, and if you fail you don't get automatically out. And turns out the
okay,
results of people who are able to successfully code and program
uh-huh,
were much higher in the failure acceptable
I
failure
I see.
area of the
'Cause
experiment.
they're not scared of failing.
They're not scared of failing. And that was, I think that really did change my mindset uh permanently. I often encourage people to go out and fail, be wrong, and be okay with being wrong. It's all part
I
of
love
it.
that. Mhm, yeah. We were just talking about video games, right? I'm gonna bounce this off before I answer with my favorite TED Talk.
Mhm.
This is like a video game recommendation. If you guys play video games, and if you know, I'm a video game connoisseur myself. I like video games to the extent that I wasted a lot of time on it. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's I'm honored.
Thanks, audience.
Um, yeah, thanks, audience. So Hades is one game that teaches you to fail and get better with every single iteration of each run. You start the game from one point. It's just like any other game, except every single time you fail, you become stronger. So what this
Mm.
means is your next run, you'll be trying your best to not die, but also you know that you'll be stronger if you fail. So you'll be willing to take some sort of risks. And I think that's very, very translatable to real life as well. Because if we, as you said, like if we take risks, and we can't take risks unless we're not scared of failing. So yeah, that's a great, great point. My favorite TED talk, however, is very, very specific, and you'll see why I say this.
Mhm.
Because I'm a big fan of music, right? In all its
Okay.
forms.
I'm
And
excited.
my favorite TED talk is by Kid Cudi, also known as I think his name's Scott. Scott S. Cudi. Yeah. So yeah, I think he gave this TED talk about 8 years or 10 years back. It's a pretty old one, and this is before I think he went to rehab for his addiction issues.
Mhm.
And he was there, and there was not a single moment on stage where this guy pretended like he's a big artist. He was talking to people more like an addict at that time. Like he was telling people his problems and why not, why you should stay away from these things because of that. And that really changed my mind because I was there to listen to him talk about music and not something, not something what people consider to be personal. Instead, this guy with like a following of 15 million people, he just goes on stage, talks about how vulnerable he is, of how his music reflects his mental state half the time, and then he steps down, steps down. That kind of changed my perspective about even if you like reach heights that some people might consider to be celebrity like or just really really famous people. It's always nice to be humble because then the people will know you because of what you do and not of who you are.
Mhm.
Because if you're humble, if your actions are humble, people will recognize those actions and they'll relate those to your personality rather than what kind of person you are or have been in the past. So yeah, that TED talk actually taught me something. Um, so that one's probably my favorite. Yeah, TED talks
That's
are
really
amazing,
cool.
eh?
I think
Yeah.
TED Talks, one thing that's always drawn me to them is that they're on most of the time they have experts, but you can be an average person with just a
True.
lot of like a valuable amount of life experience, and you're able to go there. And I've always
Mhm.
liked that. People teaching each other things
Oh yeah.
I think is really powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyone can
yeah,
sign up for a TED talk. Did you know that?
yeah, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I've known some
I think
people
that's the best
personally who've
part.
done some TED Talks. Yeah,
See, there you go. That's
yeah.
my whole point. Great.
I'm gonna switch stuff on its head because I think people got a basic understanding of who we are based off our answers.
Hmm. Yeah.
However, I want to know more about you and above. Let's say nobody knew anything about you ever. Are you able are
Okay.
you able to in 3 minutes or less
3 minutes. Oh,
describe
that's
your
a lot
life
of
up
time.
to describe yourself up to this point? I mean, in 3 minutes or less. Don't
Okay.
go on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about like
Let's make
how
more.
did you get here? What prompted you to be in this type of person? And let's go. Well, maybe we can
Okay.
learn about each other this way.
I'm gonna
I'm
come clean
excited.
today. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Coming clean. I'm actually an
Hmm.
alien. I belong to this planet called Vril. I'm obviously kidding. But anyway, see, that was supposed to be actually funny. But anyway, I was born in India. I was born in a medium-ish city in northern India. Then I grew up in that city, and I made most of my memories in that city. That city was the first place found out that I love writing. I love people who write, and I just love words in general. Like I just think words are fascinating, and they have the power to do anything. They have the power to do what nukes can't. So, yeah, I personally love words because of that. Then I grew up. I did my first bachelor's in computers, actually, not in English. At the same time, I was working two jobs, both in the English field, which was kind of weird, but I didn't think too much of it. Q to 4 years later, I'm in a different city. I'm deciding to move. I should move out of India, and that's when I actually move out of India. I take that big step. I come to Canada. I switch my whole career path. I move to English. Now I'm in an English degree, and I rediscovered my love for writing. After I came here, I connected with like-minded people. I connected with the amazing instructors at CNC. I I made a lot of friends. And yeah, that's basically my journey. That's how I ended up here in Prince George, this beautiful city that I love so much. Yeah, that's what about yours though? I'm actually excited to know like what your past is like.
I think
Enlighten
I've
us.
touched on I touch on it a lot. I try my best not to forget my roots. So I
Hmm.
bring it up frequently just to not forget where I'm from, right? And to answer in 3 minutes or less, I come from a small town 5 hours west of here called Hazleton.
Hmm.
Specifically born in Gittimax territory, which is part of the Gitsan Nation. I was always a merit roll student, pretty good at least, which is B average. Used to go and volunteer, do some of those other things, and I come from a family that's very, very um, strong-willed. I would say is a strong-willed family. So education was always something that I was pushed towards. I decided to stay close to home. I only moved to Prince George and decided to go with CNC. In which case, I was originally a web and graphic design student, and I failed a mandatory class in my first year of web and graphic design. So I got held back a year essentially. I took my first Then I decided to pivot a little bit and take my first year of business as well. So I was kind of doing two different programs at once there. I did my first year of web and graphic design. I did my first year of business. And in that year of business, I actually took some creative writing courses. I was a pretty good writer when I was in high school. I was a fan of poetry. I was a fan of creative writing. I always dreamed about writing my own book. And I took a class with Graham Pierce, a very prominent instructor at the College of New Caledonia, and he reaffirmed my love of writing. I think for a long time, my whole thing with writing was to be honest. I have always had troubles accepting who I am, as well as being honest with myself, and poetry allowed me to do that. And in that time where I was discovering myself in that way, Graham noticed my ability as a writer and recommended me to go and join the Confluence as the editor in chief then to take over for Kyle Rowell, or yeah, I believe his name is, yeah, something like that. Um, and I've been at the CNCSU ever since. I worked as the editor in chief for about a year and a half, almost 2 years maybe, and I became a staff person at the CNCSU, and I was originally only supposed to be at the student union for a year, and then I found out I really like helping students and I like making a difference. And I understand how it is to fail at the college level. I understand how it is to go into a test and feel totally unconfident, being late for
Oh yeah.
class, losing the bus pass, being held back, having all these setbacks, academic
Hmm.
penalties. I am by no means the perfect student, but I think that experience really helps me because I'm able to kind of see, and I know what students are going through, and being able to make their lives even a little bit better so they can go off and become future leaders is something I really enjoy doing. So
Awesome.
that's why I am right now.
Good incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Graham. Absolutely. Shout out to Graham. He rekindled my love of poetry, and he's the one who actually got me to write a book and actually make the effort, publish it, and compile it. And then put it on Amazon. So I wouldn't have done that, if Graham wasn't pushing me and if I wasn't in his class.
Mhm.
So yeah, props to that guy. Teachers, they make a lot of difference in your life, eh?
Yeah. Shout out to
They you
Graham,
don't.
the guest on our original pilot for this podcast. Rest in
Oh
peace,
yeah.
that pilot. My God, you know what? Let's just say this isn't the first time we tried this podcast.
As we said, we're coming clean.
We're coming clean. We're just being completely honest here. You know,
Yeah.
you know what? The previous year we had some Zoom podcast episodes. We decided to up our game and instead go to Discord. Yeah.
God,
There we
hell
go.
yeah. That's what the cool kid.
Progress.
Yep, that's what the cool kids are using these days, aren't they?
Yes. Upgrades, people, upgrades.
Improvement. Yeah. We've talked a lot about ourselves, but Now, before we move on to slightly more important topics,
Oh, we're not
um,
important?
I mean, questionable. I'm kidding.
Okay, okay,
Kidding. I'm kidding.
okay.
You know,
I wish I had a boo soundboard bite right here.
I
I
thought
wish
you were
I,
gonna play it.
I wish I
I
was
was
gonna boo
very
you,
ready
dude.
for
I
that.
was gonna
I
boo
was
you.
very ready for that.
I don't have it ready.
I thought you were gonna go for the sound.
Oh, I should have that one too. I know. Confluence budget. We got a soundboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
So, as I said, enough about ourselves. Let's talk about some, some otherworldly things. For instance, something that I really like to talk about. What's your opinion in 1 minute or less on outer space?
Okay. Go
Or
right
you
now?
knew I was gonna come to that. You knew I was gonna talk about it.
Oh, we love space, man. You and I have
Hmm.
had many conversations about space.
Hmm.
Okay, so space in general. Well, I mean, just talk about space generally.
What
Like, or
fascinates you about space?
um, I like the idea of how we sit in this world and everything seems so finite. Our entire world and our lives are based off of finite resources and finite time. And what's always interested me about space is that it's infinite. And there's endless possibilities out there. It's very cool. I've always visualized going out to space and just seeing nothing. And I know that sounds really crazy, but just
Doesn't.
imagine going up to space and you see a void, and what you think is nothing ends up being like 500 million stars, a billion planets. It's unfathomable, and it really puts. I think it humbles me the most. I like that
Absolutely
idea.
does.
It is real.
Absolutely.
It really puts into perspective how fortunate we are to be in this specific planet, and I just think it's really cool. Concept of time fascinates me, and that plays a huge, huge part in the space. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I
Absolutely.
those concepts really draw me to really following the space news.
The stars follow the stars.
Follow the stars,
Yeah.
man.
See, I'm gonna use your answer in a way. You
Sure.
said it makes seem everything seem infinite. That's very true. You know what the first astronaut said when he saw the Earth from space? Like the actual Earth from space? He said it's so tiny. That's those were his first words when he saw the Earth. And what that tells us is before we actually discovered like what space is like and what being away from Earth is like, we thought that the world's infinite because we didn't see any limits to it. Like we could just keep running and we could like keep running forever and we could end up on the same point as we
Hmm.
started from, right? It's like where does it all like branch out and all? And when we got the first image of Earth from space, people found out that the Earth's finite and we don't have a lot of sustainable resources because again, it's everything is finite. That's when I think right after that happened, the first movement to save the climate and preserve wildlife, all that came around right after the first images of Earth from space surfaced. What that tells you about us is we pretend like everything's infinite, and what I mean by that is like we pretend like everything around us is infinite, like nature, resources, fossil fuels. We pretend that's infinite, but unfortunately, it's not. And
Hmm.
I think space, you know, in a weird way, it played a big part in making us realize that. So, which is why I think space is something that I'm always fascinated with. Like always, I've always been fascinated with the idea of just heading out into the blackness, not knowing where you're going. Sounds crazy, trust me. Again, as Damon said, but crazy is very subjective.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Hmm.
You can tell I like space because got an interstellar poster right there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Interstellar, one of
yeah.
my
We're huge
favorite movies
space
of all
fan.
all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a movie! Great
It's
movie.
great. I wish I could have watched it in IMAX. That would have been
Oh,
cool.
IMAX. You can actually watch live Post North.
Post North.
Let's round of
Bigger
applause.
applause for that. Bigger
Yeah,
applause.
you want to tell the audience what the Post North is, since you've been going
Yes,
to more Post
absolutely.
North than I have.
Absolutely. I think this is my second or third post north. Remember
Is
Graham? We
it?
talked
Oh,
about Graham. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked about
yeah,
Graham.
absolutely.
Him and a guy named Matt Bartika are organizing an event called Post North. It is a live spoken word event for creative writing fiction, creative writing poetry, some essays out in there, some interesting stuff. And it's going to be held tomorrow night at the Black Clover. We're filming this on the February 16th, Wednesday,
Oh
on the
yeah.
pretense that I'm going to get it done and produced and put out before the end of the day today.
No, it's our
I
faith in
could
you,
pull off
man.
a miracle, man. Okay, but nonetheless, we got Post North going there. There's gonna be a lot of coverage. I think we're gonna be definitely talking about the event afterwards. Hopefully recording. If I'm gonna, yeah, hopefully recording a few different things, maybe our segments. We tried to do that last time, didn't work.
We'll do it this time. I
We'll
promise
do it
you.
this time. We'll charge our phones and make sure our phones don't die.
Absolutely.
I got Graham to give us a table too. We're at front row. We're front, so we should be able to record just
See,
fine. I encourage everybody who watches this before 7 p.m. on the 17th of February to go. You're gonna see me read there. You're gonna see Annabov read there. Jade Sinclair, our Indigenous rep, is gonna be reading there. It's gonna be a fun time, and I think it really does encourage the writer community around, well, Prince George.
absolutely.
There are so many freaking writers in Prince George, man, and we're kind of disjointed as a community. We kind of know a person who knows a person, but this is one of the few times where we can actually all come together and show our love for the arts.
See, this other thing I've noticed about small towns, like not bigger cities, is they have more people that are in touch with the artistic side of them. Like I've met so many artistic people at our college.
Hmm.
I've met so many artistic people outside of college. It's crazy. Like as you said, so many people, right? And I think Prince George, being a small town, has a big part to play in that.
Absolutely.
Because again, the bright lights of the city, they will distract you from what you should be focusing on. Even though like cities are amazing, we all love cities. But yeah, no, but Post North is something that I'm always gonna remember in connection to Prince George, even when I'm not in Prince George. This is because my very first core memory of Prince George is speaking at the first Post North, which was back in 2019, I guess.
The
And
first revived Post North.
oh yeah, oh yeah, first revival post, and I'm so glad I was there for it. Um,
I think I was there too.
you were there as well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
we go way
pretty sure
back,
a lot of.
Annabov.
Oh, we go way back. 2019. That's like ages ago. Um, yeah, no, Post North is something that again it kept my passion for writing and reciting and poetry. It kept it alive. And seeing all these people, like-minded people again, I appreciate what the stuff you write and the stuff you basically curate. It's a great feeling. I was nervous as hell though. Like before I came onto the stage, my heart was pounding. It was threatening to just fall out of my ribcage. And I was scared. But yeah, it turned out really, really well. People were just throwing out compliments like they threw out confetti. And it's a great time overall. Like I recommend Post North. Like Post North is it's chef's kiss.
Hmm. And if you aren't able to make Post North, because this is last minute for us posting this beforehand, definitely go and check out the manuscript release party that's going to be happening at the end of the semester, usually around March, April-ish, next month maybe. That's
Oh,
definitely
I'm
going to be a
so
nice way to
excited
go
for
there.
that.
I'm going to go there. I don't know if I'm going to reading. I'm not a student by any means. I haven't been for a few years now. But you're going to see some familiar faces there. I know a lot of people, especially in our community here, write are very talented writers too. Definitely should. It's all about taking chances, right? It's all about
All
going
about
out
taking
there
chances.
and just pouring your heart and soul into something, and hopefully people respond well to it. And I've gotten a lot of self satisfaction and personal growth from sharing mine. My first poem I read, I remember very well, is about cantaloupes. And yeah, I read
That's
that
very
one too.
specific.
I read,
Well, what about Cantaloupe? I mean, like I'm curious. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Like
uh,
what did he talk about in
it's
that in that?
it's an incredibly short poem. I can probably find it right now. It
Is it
was
about how
essentially,
cantaloupes are like really really round?
no, it was literally just my me trying to find something in the fridge, and my roommate at the time I had a cantaloupe in front of it, and I was pissed at him. Honestly, that is literally this. Okay, why is there a cantaloupe in front of my orange juice in the fridge? For a
Right.
month straight, I have to move it if I want orange juice. Who the F buys cantaloupes? You see, now that is the entirety of the poem, and I said that for a very specific reason. It is just ridiculous. It's supposed to be fun. I'm venting about my jerk of a roommate who, for some reason, bought a cantaloupe, never ate it. He just had it there. And I needed my orange juice, man. I want my orange juice. So
Was a cantaloupe.
it was so cool reading that for the first time in like 2017, and then
Hmm.
going back to the the chapbook release party back in the fall last semester, and reading that
Right.
poem again about 5 years later for the first time
Okay.
again, and it was opening. It was really cool. It's just a fun experience, and there's
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of stuff
poetry is.
that's going to be happening. The restrictions are being lifted in across British Columbia, and
You have no idea.
hopefully events like this continue to happen. I
Oh
really
yeah.
hope that we have more events for the arts. Hopefully it's not just a once a year type thing. Maybe we can create something else in the writers community to kind of make
They're
up
not
for
just
the
yeah.
lost time.
They're not just fun now. At this point, I think they're very necessary.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
think so
very
too.
necessary to get people to rekindle their passions for what they've lost their passions for during the pandemic. Because me and you both know a lot of people while they did rediscover their passions. A lot of people they just fell out of touch because you've been stuck inside the same room, seeing the same walls for like 1,000 days. That doesn't
Absolutely.
sound too healthy. So yeah, I agree with you on the stance that these events they should be held more often, simply because we are in need of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I one thing I want to say about poetry is something I think Graham said to me in my first class in poetry class,
right.
in the poetry 206. Um, Nobody likes poetry, but everybody can understand it.
Mhm.
I truly think that's the way. Maybe you're not interested in poetry, but you might. It's one of those things that I think everybody, no matter the language, can somewhat understand. It's meant to be interpretive. You're meant to express emotions that people don't normally talk about.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not acceptable to go and talk about a traumatic event, or go talk about a breakup, or the vulnerability of feeling lonely. Like who goes around and talks about how lonely they are, or about how mad they
mhm.
are at their roommate for having a freaking cantaloupe that they never eat and it just spoils. Why are they even
Have
putting
I
it in
told you?
why are they putting it on the fridge door? Why do they have a spoiled cantaloupe in the fridge door of all places?
Oh, you and cantaloupes have a really special relationship. I can tell. Like I can
Mm-mm.
sense it.
Mm-mm. No.
Like I wouldn't say a
We have
nice
no
relationship, but
relationship
I'm.
at all. I'm not giving cantaloupes the time and of day to
Oh,
have a
they're living rent
relationship.
free. They're living rent free in your head, my friend. I can tell you that.
All right,
And
let's wrap
I
this.
can
Let's
I
wrap
can.
this up. I'm done talking about cantaloupes. Let's finish this podcast. My mood is spoiled now because of those
Damon's gonna
freaking
have
cantaloupes.
a spoiled cantaloupe
It's still there to
tonight
this
for
day.
dinner.
Yeah, it's still there. It's part of the door.
Should be an artifact now.
It is an
So
artifact.
by this
Yeah,
point, yeah.
I lost my
Yeah.
damage deposit because of that freaking cantaloupe, man.
On that beautiful note about spoiled cantaloupes. Um, yeah, yeah. It was a beautiful. I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face. No, it was a wonderful time. I had fun talking about all of this, and hopefully, if you guys like this, you guys can direct us to towards what we should talk about. Like if there's a topic you are especially fond of, and if we like that topic, even if you don't like it, we'll still talk about it. You know why?
hmm
Because talking solves problems.
Words are
Always
great,
does.
man. And
Words
plus,
are
it's
the
not just going
best.
to be me and Anubhav. We're going to have some other people going on here. We're going to
I
have some
promise.
special
Yes.
guests. We're recruiting for the editorial committee to potentially find our next editor in chief, as well as just members of the team. Anu's not going to be here forever and ever, but we're going to value him while he is here, and we're going to try to create a platform for you guys that is just really cool. So we're going to have a rotating cast. Myself and Anu are going to be pretty consistent here. We kind of took the commitment of co-hosting this thing, but
Mhm.
it's definitely we're going to be keeping things fresh. We're going to be making mistakes, taking chances, and
Oh yeah.
hopefully making some new friends along the way.
Absolutely. Making that's so awesome. That sounds so good. On that note, we're gonna end this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday night, and I'm gonna get ready for Post North, which is tomorrow. So yeah,
Hell
as
yeah,
Damon said,
brother.
if you see this before 7 p.m., be sure we at Post North because it's gonna be one hell of an experience. With that, Damon, good night, and I'm gonna see all of you guys very, very soon.
All right. Peace out, friends. Make good choices.
Good